there's just so much.
You're listening to a Mamamia podcast.
Hello there. Welcome to Well Australian Women. This is your full body health check. I am Claire Murphy and my sleep hygiene habits include hugging a giant squishmallow and a hot water bottle every night when I go to sleep. And when I say every night, I mean winter, summer, autumn, spring, does not matter.
Love it. And I'm Dr. Mariam, and sleep hygiene is a work in progress for me. I try to stick to a bedtime routine. I avoid screens. I love a hot shower. Who doesn't?
I don't shower before bed. Oh, I'm a morning girly.
I love a shower before bed and I love clean sheets. But as a working twin mama, it doesn't always work that way. But I'm trying my best because I know sleep deprivation turns me into a demon.
Yeah, we're all doing our best, let's be honest. Yes, today we are discussing sleep hygiene, and contrary to what that sentence might sound like, it really doesn't actually mean how physically clean you are when you get into bed at night, although we really should have a conversation about how often we change our sheets, because we just started a conversation before we hit record. And to say I am deeply disturbed by Dr. Mariam's habits is an understatement, because I was going to ask her, are you a weekly or a bi-weekly changer? And I don't think we need to know her answer to that. Although, do you want to elaborate?
Now I'm fortnightly religiously,
Me too.
but I'll be honest, like in the first 2 years raising the twins, it was bloody hard.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, sometimes it went from fortnightly to maybe 2 monthly. It was hard. It's hard changing those sheets. I'm trying to keep two humans alive.
Yeah, look, fair enough. I did not have twins.
Yeah.
I cannot understand exactly what you were going through at that time. So, like, no judgments. Yeah, let's be honest.
Did you know we shed 1.5 grams of dead skin every night? And then dust mites are attracted to them.
Oh, and they eat it, right?
They eat it, yeah.
Gross.
That's what made me change my sheets more frequently.
You also should vacuum your mattress every now and then.
All
just
right,
to get
calm
a bit
down,
of that out.
Claire. I'm trying. I'm trying. Barely surviving.
Sleep hygiene is actually about all the steps that you take in preparation for going to bed and getting a decent night's rest. So things like the temperature of the room, or light sources, or avoiding doom scrolling for 4 hours when you get into bed. We are going to get to the bottom of what we can do to relax and get busy doing nothing but actually sleeping. We also have a quick consult for Tyra today. She's feeling a little woozy and she's not quite sure why. We're also going to catch up with Dr. Walsh today. She has some great tips on how to make sure we make a good sleep routine and make it work for us, including perhaps a little bit of a controversial take on screen time, which is really interesting. But Mariam, I have found out that when it comes to uteruses and cervixes and vaginas, some women end up with a whole bunch more than they bargained for. Let's find out why, because it is time to head to med school.
Let's go.
Welcome to med school.
Okay, look, I had heard rumours of women who have two uteruses, right? It's not a common thing, but it does happen. But I did not realise that some women can be born with not one but two uteruses, two cervixes, and two vaginas, which means like a whole set of like two lots of fallopian tubes, two lots of ovaries. Like, I was watching this video of a woman and she was explaining how she has to double dip her tampons because she doesn't know which uterus is menstruating, because they don't always happen at the same time.
Oh my goodness.
Like, it is wild. And apparently this can happen if something called a Müllerian duct doesn't fuse when you are in utero, so in your mum's tummy. And instead those two ducts form into two completely, like, in their own universe set of reproductive organs, which is incredible. And some women have this and have zero issues. Like, they're not even aware until maybe it comes time for, you know, looking into their fertility. But last year there was a woman called Kelsey Hatcher. She lives in Alabama. She gave birth to twin girls, Roxy and Rebel. They were born 10 hours apart.
Love the names.
Great names. But they were in separate uteruses. One came out vaginally. The other had to come out via C-section. And according to whoever, I don't know, does the data on how many women have two complete sets of reproductive organs, being pregnant simultaneously in 2 different uteruses when you do have like 2 vaginas and 2 cervixes and all of the above is 1 in a million, which is a huge number because it requires you to have separately ovulated in both of those fallopian tubes.
That's insane.
And for sperm to have made it, which we've discussed previously, is really hard and a miracle that it actually happens. So for the sperm to get up into those fallopian tubes at the same time and actually do their thing, it's wild.
Is the male penetrating a different hole?
That's the $1 million question. Like, does he, like, maybe he's gone in and one and then, like there's a change of position and has gone in on the, like, I don't, and maybe sperm has, like, gone in and gone, oh, hang on, we've backtracked and we're going down this new route. I don't know.
It's so bizarre.
It is
bizarre but fascinating.
Fascinating.
So fascinating.
Women's bodies are wild and incredible and can do some pretty insane
One in a million things.
1 in a million things. All right. Shall we get into why we're actually here today?
Let's do it.
It's time for the checkup.
Okay, we're talking about sleep hygiene. When we think about getting a good night's sleep, it's often down to just how many hours you get, right? And like, let's be honest, lots of us are wearing our watches to bed now and we track all of that stuff. But it is a heck of a lot more than that. It's about routines. It's about the time you go to bed.
Yeah.
It's about the time you wake up. It's about creating almost rituals in the lead up to sort of lure you into sleep's warm embrace.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we want to make it like a nightly thing that we really stick to, like, as you mentioned, a warm shower before bed or reading a book. It's about making your bedroom a sanctuary for sleep and ensuring that what you put into your body before you go to sleep is actually really good and healthy and doesn't impact your rest time, because some things can. So I would like to ask you, Mariam, what does your sleep hygiene routine look like?
As I mentioned, it's a work in progress. Like, I'm working, I've got twin boys, and sometimes like a good night's sleep is like a distant dream for me. And I think a lot of parents can relate. Sometimes like you feel like you're managing sleep rather than actually getting sleep. But here's the thing, sleep hygiene is so important and it works. And I've really had to prioritize creating a routine. Even if it's not perfect, it kind of gives me a foundation to work by. So in our house, evenings start early. Well, I try to get them to start early.
What's early for you?
So maybe like about 6 p.m. I'm starting to get the twins to wind down. So I usually get them outside and we're jumping on the trampoline and I'm trying to drain
get some
all
energy
that.
out.
Yeah, get all that young boy energy out.
Yeah.
And then we've got the battle of dinner and bath and books and winding down. But once they're in bed and, you know, it's all dimmed down, I'm like, okay, now I've got to get myself into my sleep hygiene routine. And that usually means me putting my phone on D&D. And I try to do it on Do Not Disturb from 8 p.m. Yep. Otherwise, I'm doom scrolling or I'm looking at things. I'm making lists for the next day and 2 hours has passed and I've lost a lot of time. So D&D at 8 p.m., I try to have a warm shower. I try to dim all the lights down and I try to be in bed by 9 p.m.
Yeah.
So that's my routine. I try to stick to it most evenings, including weekends. And if my mind's racing, I've got an app on the phone. Because sometimes it's really hard with anxiety just to kind of shut all those loud thoughts, which are telling you all the things that you didn't do that day and the 100 things that you need to do the next day. So I'll put either a bit of rain noise, because my husband hates white noise.
I can't stand white noise. A friend of mine's kid has a white noise machine. I don't know how anyone in their house sleeps.
It just drains out all the noise. I love it, all the inside noise. Or I'll do a little bit of a meditation on the app. There's like 2 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever it might be. I can never do more than 5 minutes. And that kind of puts me in a really calm state and kind of helps me get ready to sleep. Yeah.
Because I've been waking up early for work for a really long time, I am super protective of my sleep hygiene routine, which babies give 2 shits about. So they interrupt that all the time. But my kid's a bit older than yours, so she's 10. And so we start to get ready for bed at the same time. So 7:30 is when we kick into gear and, you know, she goes off and has a shower. I go off and get into my pajamas and I wash my face and I brush my teeth. And I do some squats when I brush my teeth because I find it really hard to get exercise in my daily routine. So I just do some squats while I'm brushing. And then, like, I go make our hot water bottles and then – because, yes, my child is also an addict to hot water bottles. And then I go to bed and I read and my daughter goes to bed and she reads. Sometimes we read in bed together and then she'll toddle off to her bed after a while. Reading is my meditation. So that's how I calm my brain down for the night. I have to sleep in a cold, dark room.
Yeah.
I'm not a skerrick of light. Like the room I slept in last night, because I slept in a hotel, has got a TV in it with a light on it, like the standby light. Could not handle it. So sometimes I don't have a sleep mask because the mask doesn't work really well for me, but I bought these really stretchy headbands that just kind of sit over my eyes.
Yep.
So it's got to be completely dark, completely quiet, and completely like cold, still environment. And then I am out, but I'm a 3 a.m. waker-upper.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to have to learn how to maybe deal with that.
Do you check your phone when you wake up to see?
No, I've given myself a rule.
Yeah.
2 rules. 1, I don't touch my phone after I've plugged it into charge. So I put it in on the charger and then I leave it alone from that point on.
And just wait for the alarm. Yeah.
And then I wear my watch to bed, so I use that as my alarm rather than my phone. And then if I do wake up, I used to check what the time was and then freak myself out.
Yeah.
Now I've realised that is the worst thing I can possibly do, so I try and go back to sleep.
Yeah.
So different things work for different people,
Yeah, no,
and some
that's a
people,
good tip.
you know,
because when you're checking your watch and you realise, oh crap, I've only got 2 hours to get up. It's just
avoid that if you can. Like there's nothing worse than waking up like an hour before you're supposed to wake up and you're like, oh God, I've only got an hour. Can I get back to sleep? It's crazy.
And you're right, that right temperature is so important. We have a really warm doona and it gets really warm and then my husband's body's like a heater.
Yeah.
So I usually have to put 1 foot out to get some cold air and then it cools like the rest of my body.
Yeah, but I watched, I forget what the movie's called, Paranormal Activity.
Oh, no,
and now I can't stick my foot out the doona anymore.
Now you've put that.
I'm sorry, I can't sleep with 1 foot out from the doona anymore because of that movie.
No,
don't watch
my
it.
sleep's ruined, Claire. Thanks.
Sorry. Is your sleep hygiene routine something you can actually talk to your doctor about? I wouldn't imagine myself speaking to my GP about that. And also too, I've done a lot of my sleep hygiene research on TikTok. So what can my GP do that TikTok hasn't already told me?
Ouch. Okay.
Sorry.
So TikTok is great for like bite-sized hacks, but they don't work for everyone. And when it comes to sleep, I think context really matters. So yes, definitely see your GP because they'll take a deep dive into your sleep history, how long it's been an issue, what your lifestyle is like, and any other medical conditions or mental health conditions that might be at play as well. Sometimes medications might be affecting the way you sleep as well. Your stress levels might have something to do with it. It's holistic and it's tailored. So yes, definitely seeing your GP is something worth considering. We might look at whether you're dealing with true insomnia or a circadian rhythm disorder, or maybe a symptom of something else like anxiety or sleep apnea. And from there, we can explore treatment options, whether that's CBTI, cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, which we know is backed by loads of evidence and works. And you can do it from the comfort of your own home. You don't need to go in for a face-to-face with a psychologist. There's lots of easy options to get it done. So yes, do your online research, but bring that in to your GP. Will help you sort fact from that and work out a plan that actually suits you and is tailored to your lifestyle.
Okay. Don't rely on TikTok for medical advice, I think is the thing we should all be taking away here. On the way, we have a question from Tyra. She feels like her world is spinning, but next, Dr. Jen Walsh is a sleep expert. She has some advice on whether things like mouth taping, speaking of TikTok, are actually helping you get better sleep, just how important light is in your daily routine, and we don't mean turning off the light at night and having a dark room, and a take on screen time before bed that might make you second guess your habits. Sleep hygiene can involve a lot of things, but how much is too much? Some of the things that we are adding to our list of sleep hygiene things we've learnt on social media, for example, like mouth taping and supplements actually helping or hindering us. Dr. Jen Walsh is a sleep specialist from the Centre for Sleep Science at the University of Western Australia. I caught up with her earlier in the week and first asked her how we can make our bedtime routines better even from the moment we wake up.
Firstly, what you've said about what we do during the day impacts us at night is so true. That from when we first wake up, having the time that we wake up is really important. So setting that wake time is really vital. Our bodies love routine. So having that routine of waking up at the same time every day is really valuable.
Okay, can I interrupt just for a second? Because if you say get up for work at a really early time during the week, and I'm asking this on behalf of, I don't know, a friend who might have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning for work, does that mean I should be attempting to do the same thing on the weekends too? Like if you get a little bit of a sleep in over Saturday, Sunday, is that bad?
The evidence actually shows that it's okay to get that sleep in on the weekend. However, you need to be mindful that if you do sleep in on the weekend, then you're probably going to find it a little bit more challenging to get to bed at a normal time that night. So it's a bit of a trade-off. But as much as possible, if we can try and keep to that standard wake-up time, then that's really valuable. And then the other things are getting exposure to bright light during the day. So we know there's actually a lot of evidence, even if you've got a window at work, those people who have windows in their offices tend to sleep better at nighttime. But yeah, getting exposure to light. So whether it's going out for a walk in the morning, whether it's just eating your breakfast, at a table where there's light, that can be really helpful. Sunlight or light during the early, part of the day is really beneficial. We're lucky, obviously, in Australia that we get lots of opportunity to get exposure to light. But even if you don't get that natural sunlight, just getting exposure to artificial light can be valuable as well. And then there are other things like regular exercise. We know that people who regularly exercise throughout the day, and it doesn't need to be, training for a marathon. It just needs to be regular, moderate exercise. We know that that is beneficial for people's sleep.
And does it matter what time of day you do that exercise?
Yes and no. If you do the exercise quite late in the day, it can disrupt sleep, but some people don't experience that. So that's up to the individual. And certainly we know that high intensity exercise just before you go to bed can be detrimental to sleep. But again, that's not everyone. So there's sort of it's a problem with sleep. There's sort of no hard and fast rules that some things affect some people, but they don't affect others. Things that we do know that are detrimental to sleep that we might do during the day, things like excessive caffeine consumption, excessive alcohol consumption, or even just any alcohol close to bedtime we know is likely to be detrimental. And then things like stress. We know stress can really impact sleep. So if you can try and schedule a time during the day to sort of deal with the stresses, that can be helpful. So therefore you're not doing it at nighttime. You're not stressing when you are in bed trying to sleep, and clearly our brains are not, they're not functioning at their peak at 3 a.m. So that's not the right time to be solving, all those problems that we have. And then probably the last thing I'd say about things that we do during the day that can, commonly impact sleep would be napping. That, I'm a massive fan of napping. I do love a sneaky daytime nap. But if we are napping all the time, or regularly, every day, and particularly if they're longer naps, then that's probably indicative that we're not getting enough sleep at nighttime, and it potentially is detrimental to that nighttime sleep. It's a bit like snacking, if you snack before bedtime or before dinner time, you're not going to feel hungry. So, yeah, try and minimise the napping.
I'm going to mention a few methods that I've come across online during this chat, but the first one is the 10-5-3-2-1 method, and that is 10 hours before bed, no more caffeine, 3 hours before bed, no more food or alcohol, 2 hours before bed, no more working, and 1 hour before bed, no more screen time. Do you think that's accurate?
No, probably the biggest one that I would say is inaccurate about that is the screen time. I think that screens are, and this is probably a bit controversial, that we're all told that screens are bad, we must stay away from them. But it depends what you're doing on the screen. So if you are using it as a relaxation tool, then maybe that's okay.
Like reading a book on your Kindle, for example?
Exactly. Or maybe you're doing a mindfulness exercise, some kind of relaxation exercise. Maybe you're listening to music. Maybe you're listening to an audiobook, maybe a wonderful podcast. We're talking now about a phone or a tablet. The light is probably not that bad for us. That's what the evidence is showing us, that actually that light's not too bad. And even the content, they've done studies where they've looked at people who've used a screen and they got them to play violent video games or something that's really, potentially quite uplifting, maybe create some kind of physical response or physiological response. And they've compared that to, watching a really sedate movie on a device, and there's actually no difference in terms of how it impacts their sleep. But what we do know is that some people do really struggle to put their devices down. That's when it becomes a problem. So that's when that, 1 hour before bedtime may actually be beneficial for those people who struggle to put their device down. Maybe setting yourself an alarm that, half an hour or an hour, or maybe it needs to be 2 hours before you go to bed. You actually put your phone or your device away and you do something like read a book instead.
What about some of the more out there sleep hygiene recommendations? It's commonly referred to as sleep maxing if you're scrolling on TikTok, like mouth taping, tart cherry juice mocktails, nostril expanders, sleep trackers. Like there's a whole category here. What out of those things have you seen that are just absolute rubbish?
Most of them, there's a little bit of sort of scientific basis to them. Even like mouth taping, I wouldn't advocate that people go out and do this, but if people are wanting to try it, then I think as long as you're doing it under supervision and checking that, there's no reason that you shouldn't be doing it, then people can, I think that for some people it's going to be beneficial. The biggest concern with something like mouth taping is that it is detrimental, that it actually exacerbates a sleep problem or it induces a sleep problem. I'm talking about sleep breathing disorders predominantly, but there is a bit of evidence that maybe it is beneficial in some people. In terms of the Sleepy Girl mocktail or the tart cherry juice, there's a little bit of evidence that maybe that can be helpful as well, that some of the constituents or the components of the mocktail can be beneficial for sleep. However, there's not a lot of evidence supporting all of these methods. And I think the best thing to do is try and weigh up the risk and the benefit. If there is a risk, then people definitely need to, proceed with caution and talk to someone who knows what they're talking about and, potentially be monitored while you're doing it.
You cannot look into sleep hygiene without the mention of magnesium coming up. And obviously we're not going to talk about dosages or things like that because that is something you need to speak to your own doctor about because this is very specific to you as an individual. But if you do choose to use a supplement like magnesium, is there actual evidence that it helps?
Magnesium is interesting because you're so right that there's so many people that, say that how, it's just the wonder drug for sleep and, and lots of other ailments as well. But yeah, in actual fact, the evidence is really weak. That there's lots of observational studies where, they've given people magnesium, but there's been no placebo or no kind of control. We know that when people want something to work, they'll often think that it's working. And also, if people are taking something, they're in a trial, they know they're being watched, they potentially might be, decreasing the caffeine that they're having, decreasing the alcohol, so there might be other factors that are causing the improvement in sleep. So I would say that there's not a lot of evidence for the benefit of magnesium. However, if you want to sit down with your Sleepy Girl mocktail in the evening as a bit of a relaxation exercise, or maybe it's your chamomile tea, the fact that there's no evidence for its benefit doesn't mean that it's not beneficial in terms of contributing to a pre-sleep routine that is overall beneficial.
I'm going to talk about another couple of methods that I've come across in my sleep hygiene travels. There is a couple that are involved in helping you get to sleep or get back to sleep if you're one of those people who wakes up in the middle of the night. One is called the military method, which is where you systematically relax certain muscles and think about calm things and try and relax your entire body. And then the other is called the eye rolling method, where you roll your eyes in a certain pattern behind your closed eyelids. Any evidence that either of those are beneficial for getting to sleep or getting back to sleep?
So with the breathing or relaxation type exercises, whether it's specifically the military method or just relaxation and breathing exercises in general, there is a bit of evidence around that they can be beneficial. And that is actually one of the components of cognitive behavioural therapy for insomnia, which is the best or the gold standard treatment for insomnia. In terms of eye rolling, I've not actually come across that one. But again, I can't see like physiologically why it would be beneficial. But in terms of, maybe it's having those psychological effects on people, a bit like relaxation, that if it's helping people to distract themselves from thoughts that are not conducive to sleep, then maybe that in itself is beneficial.
Just finally, I'd like to get an idea from you as to how we should approach our bedrooms when it comes time to sleep, because there's a lot of conversations about things that you should put in place, like temperature and how your sheets are. What should we know are the optimal things to do in our bedroom? And can I use this in an argument against my husband who's desperate for a TV to be installed in our room?
Look, I'd say definitely you've got my firm recommendation to not have a TV in the bedroom.
Lovely. Tick, doctor's orders. Moving on.
Yeah. The problem with the TV, like I said, it's not so much the light or the use of it. Having it in the bedroom means that you're going to be watching TV whilst you're in bed. And that is something that I certainly wouldn't recommend. Laying around in bed for too long just gets your body or your brain used to thinking that it's okay to be awake while I'm in bed. And we ideally don't want to do that.
Does that then work into, because there's this trend called bed rotting where people are spending a lot of time in bed. Is that detrimental for sleep?
Well, I feel like my teenagers might be doing that. And I tell them, no, get out of your bed. If you're going to be on your device, please don't be in your bed, while you're doing it. So because of that exact reason, that you start to associate the bed with being awake, which is not what you want to be doing. You want the bed to be a place where you get into it and it makes you feel like you need to go to sleep. But in terms of the rest of the environment of the bedroom, an ideal temperature is something, it's really hard to give you a precise temperature because it's different for everyone. It's probably going to be different for you and different for your husband. And that is where potentially having separate doonas can come into play as well. And I actually fully advocate for this anyway because it helps minimize that disruption of sleep, the tugging of the doona as someone's rolling over. But yet generally a cooler room is more beneficial for sleep than a warmer room. And our body temperature needs to drop during sleep. So it actually needs to drop a little bit to help us get to sleep. And then it drops throughout the night. And that helps us get that good quality rapid eye movement sleep. So having that cooler environment is beneficial. In terms of sound, obviously you want to minimize, noises as much as possible. If you can't, I would definitely recommend people try using earplugs. I mean, obviously, particularly for shift workers or people that are sleeping in sort of non-standard hours. In terms of light, we probably want to keep that light level fairly low. People need to factor in safety though. Some people need to have a light on for safety reasons. If they need to get up during the night, particularly older people, they probably do need a low level light somewhere. But we do know there is a bit of evidence that even just fairly low levels of light consistently across the night or for longer periods of the sleep period is potentially detrimental to our health in the long term, and it is potentially disruptive to our sleep, even though you don't perceive it to be. So I would recommend keeping the light levels low. And maybe if people do need to keep a light on for those safety reasons, maybe using an eye mask while they're actually in bed and then taking that off when they need to get out of bed would be beneficial for those people.
Mariam, what are our thoughts on what Dr. Walsh has taught us today?
Okay, I'm familiar with mouth taping, but I've missed this whole sleepy girl mocktail thing. What is this?
So people are doing different variations of this, and it often involves tart cherry juice, which I believe scientifically there is some evidence that it does help you with sleep. I don't know how it works, but there is a whole version of these
delicious.
Online. It is, but I can't drink stuff like that before bed.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm like a water-only gal at night time.
Maybe I'll just give it a try.
Maybe. You never know. It is quick consult time next.
Let's do it.
Don't forget to get your questions to Dr. Mariam, though. You can email us, at mamamia.com.au or in the waiting room. The link for that is in our show notes. Next, Tyra needs to keep her balance because right now she is failing.
The doctor will see you now just through here to consult room 1.
It's time to answer Tyra's question today. Dr. Mariam, it is time, so let's do this.
Thanks for waiting. How can I help you?
If you do want to ask Dr. Mariam a question, she is actually really incredible at giving us like the no BS talk and stripping away all the things you've seen in your feeds to get to the truth, keeping in mind she can only give you general advice, because as much as we all would love you to be our GP because we love you, she isn't all of our GPs, which makes us all very sad. But do hit us up. Tyra wrote this to us.
I'm 175 centimetres tall and weigh about 58 kilos, and lately I've been getting quite dizzy. It happens when I stand up, when I turn around. It's really strange. I am eating, probably not as much as usual, but definitely enough. But my GP reckons the dizziness is because I'm borderline underweight, but I just don't think that's right. What else could be causing my dizziness, and how do I ask my GP to investigate more?
Okay, let's unpack this one, because dizziness is a frustrating and it's a vague symptom to deal with, but it's a really common one that definitely deserves a proper workup. The real question is, what kind of dizziness are you experiencing? Because dizziness can mean spinning, like that vertigo-like sensation which people might experience, lightheadedness or feeling faint where you feel like you're about to pass out, or that unsteadiness, you feel like you're going to fall over, your gait is affected. You've said it happens when you stand up, turn, or even when you're just standing still, which makes me wonder if it's something called orthostatic hypotension, which is where your blood pressure drops when you change position. So when you're going from sitting to standing, we expect your blood pressure to rise and not to drop. But for some people, it can drop and give them that dizziness sensation. And it can make you feel woozy, especially if you're not eating enough or not drinking enough, or if your blood volume is low. Here are some other things that I'd want to exclude, like things like dehydration, anemia or iron deficiency, which is super common in a lot of females that have heavy menstrual bleeding, electrolyte imbalances, sometimes low sugar, hypoglycemia. If you're not eating much or you're skipping meals, this could be playing a role. Then there are like inner ear issues, which can really affect balance. There are a lot of those at play as well. And then there might be heart rhythm problems, very rare, but something we'd want to exclude as well. So how do you ask your GP to investigate more? Here's what I'd suggest saying. I know you mentioned my weight may be a factor, but I'm still feeling dizzy when I've had food and I've had something to drink. I feel it would be better if we could just check my blood pressure standing and lying down, and maybe you could run some basic blood tests just to rule out anything else. It's totally reasonable. You're not questioning their judgment. You're just advocating for your body and how you feel. And as a GP, I want my patients to tell me when something doesn't feel right. You know, it opens the door for a proper workup just to make sure we haven't missed anything.
I feel like we think about our GPs like we think about our hairdresser. Like if you go to the hairdresser and they give you a shit haircut, you don't say anything.
No, it's
you
the
leave
worst.
and then you whinge to all your friends about it, right? Whereas my friend is a hairdresser and she's like, please tell me if you hate your haircut. So GPs are probably like, please tell me if you would like me to do more, or if you think I'm not.
Don't leave that room if you're not happy with the plan. Just say, no, I want a blood test, or can we do a bit more investigations? Have that conversation.
Yeah. Also, I don't know how old you are, Tyra, but when I hit perimenopause, I got vertigo, which apparently is a very common thing too. Fun. We'll talk about perimenopause coming up in the future. Thank you so much for that question, Tyra. Next week's quick consult is a question that I feel like we have been asked the most across everything in our DMs, on email, in the waiting room. It is the number one asked question by everybody. So that is coming your way next week. Thank you for spending some time with me and the good Dr. Mariam today. We'll be back next week to talk about something that is medical, but some of us might think is a little bit woo-woo. That is mindfulness and meditation. When it comes to sleep and rest, we do need to look at that too, how we can quiet our minds and get a bit better rest maybe. Are you a meditator?
I'm a work in progress meditator.
I feel like you say that about a lot of things.
It's true. I'm trying. I'm also failing.
As we all are. More on that next week, including a surprise bonus from one of our experts to get us through the barrier to meditation that some of us might experience. And for those of us who don't have an hour to sit and get in touch with our inner selves. Don't forget to sign up to the Well newsletter too. It's got heaps of extra women's health info, including some more of your questions answered from the waiting room. You can find a link to that in our show notes. We do have to say, again, we do really love helping you with your health concerns, but we are not your doctors, me especially. No medical expertise whatsoever. And unless you're listening to this and Mariam is actually your GP, to which I say congratulations because she's a gem. But make sure that you take the general advice that you might have learned here today and take it to your own doctors to get them to find out what works for you specifically. Just finally, I would like to give a shout out to everyone who's been sending us messages telling us how some of you have listened and then plucked up the courage to go and speak to your doctors and maybe be a little bit more assertive with your own healthcare. I am very proud of you. Round of applause. Also, it's not just people who are patients who've been reaching out to us. I've got a lot of doctors, GPs in particular, who've been talking to us as well, which is really fabulous to see. Lara reached out to us recently and said that she's taken on some of our suggestions about how to approach her patients to talk about their weight, which I think, thank you so much for understanding that and for putting that into place. I think that's really important. So you're just a bunch of freaking legends. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mariam.
Oh.
Mariam, did you just fall asleep? Did I just wake you? Are you okay?
It's my sleep hygiene. It's a bit of titration.
If your sleep hygiene is just chatting to me, that is concerning. We will see you for your appointment here next week.
Bye-bye.
Big news this week. You can get 20% off a Mamamia subscription. And even better, Mamamia will match that 20% and donate it to Rise Up, a charity supporting women and families affected by domestic violence. Subscribe today with the code GIVEBACKWELL. This offer is valid until 11:59 p.m. Sunday, August 24.
Mamamia acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this podcast on, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures.
Hi, I'm obstetrician Dr. Patrick Maloney.
And I'm Bridget Maloney. We're the hosts of The Kick, the pregnancy podcast that breaks down everything you need to know about making and growing a tiny human.
We cover it all with expert information and evidence-based discussion based on our experience of running a women's clinic and being parents to 4 boys.
From morning sickness to birth plans, strange cravings to baby movements, listen to The Kick wherever you get your podcasts.